activities for the whole family. Adults 300 Kenya shillings, kids 250 Kenya shillings. Join us in shaping tomorrow. Hashtag Mombasa International Show 2024.
Good evening, welcome to Prime Edition. I am Cynthia Nyamai. Now tonight, the Council of Governors is warning of a looming shutdown in the various counties and in business. What do you know about rabbit farming? Well, we have the details for you on Young and Industrious, which is quickly becoming a favorite for Thursdays. And in sports, Okumu has all the action for you. Another life gone with the hyenas. Juja residents protest the killing of a 5-year-old boy at Nyakaba village. Medics issued a 14-day strike notice over failure by county governments to implement collective bargaining agreement.
Commission has reviewed and increased the salary of police constable from a basic salary per month at entry.
National Police Service Commission announces salary increment for police officers. And crying for billions from the Treasury. Council of Governors warns of counties shutdown over budget constraints. Brian Muraru is our sign language interpreter. Remember, we would love to hear from you. You can send us your comments and feedback on KBC Channel 1 on our social media pages. That is Twitter, Facebook, and also on Instagram. Now, the Council of Governors is warning of a looming county shutdown due to budget constraints. The council, which appeared before the Senate Finance Committee on Thursday, maintained that if the revenue shareable among the devolved units will be revised downwards from the proposed 400 billion shillings, it will hamper service delivery. Here is Aziz Hashim with the details.
A day after the Auditor General Nancy Gathungu lifted the lead on fishy avenues used to gobble up public monies at the devolved units.
Or sometimes you'll find a dormant account in 1 year or for 2-3 years, and then suddenly it receives money the money comes in and goes out. So we follow and we find, no, it was a vehicle to put aside. I think you also understand.
Are you trying to say a vehicle for eating?
The Council of Governors, led by their Vice Chair, who doubles up as Wajir Governor Ahmed Abdullahi,
of the Council of Governors, we've invited you here,
has broken their silence over the auditor's findings.
So many bank accounts that you have, especially yesterday when we had the Auditor General appearing before the audit committee that we serve.
But we will not take the thunder from what the AG has, what the Auditor General has said. We will see how to, consolidate our finances better.
The Auditor General, Nancy Gathungu, revealed that some counties illegally operate close to 300 bank accounts. However, the governors have refuted the claims, stating that the accounts are being used for loans.
On the many bank accounts, a lot of it is because of specific donor accounts, which make it a condition that, we open those accounts for those particular projects. Now we're actually being required to open also for every health facility.
Meanwhile, the devolved heads are warning of a looming county shutdown due to fiscal constraints.
You've read today, people are talking about, workers are talking about going on strike because SRC has already given raised salaries for the national workers, and the county workers have been left out. How are we going to manage this? Unless we are saying we want to completely shut down the counties, and that's the direction we don't want to go. So, Chair.
Robert Dubai is waiting for me. We have an appointment because he has already called, is preparing to call a strike.
The legislators who are arguing that the withdrawal of the Finance Bill 2024 has necessitated the revision of the budget allocation to both levels of government.
We are cognizant of the unique challenges the country is currently faced with, following the recent demonstrations that led to the rejection of the Finance Bill 2024, among others.
Under Clause 3A, if the actual revenue raised nationally in the financial year 2024 falls short of expected revenue set out in the schedule, the shortfall shall be borne by national and county government equitably. This clause itself is unconstitutional.
Of the financial year will pass before equitable share is sent. And then what will be in the newspaper? Control of budget, saying 0% absorption of development funds by counties. Of course, number one will have to be Nairobi because my budget is the biggest.
The chair of the Commission of Revenue, CRA, who also appeared before the Mandera Senator Ali Roba-led committee, argues that the deduction will hamper key projects being collaborated on by the national and the county governments.
The Commission submits that for the financial year 24-25, the national government allocation be 2.194.1 billion and the county allocation be retained at 400.1 billion.
Abdiaziz Hashim for Prime Edition.
Attorney General Dorcas Agekodwo on Thursday formally received the public participation draft bill from the clerk of the National Assembly. The handover represents a significant step in ensuring the institutionalization of public participation in governance. The bill aims to provide a legal framework for public participation at the national and county levels of government. The Office of the Attorney General will now assume the responsibility of advancing the draft bill to its next stages, including further legal processing and comprehensive stakeholder engagement. Once refined, it will be taken back to Parliament for consideration.
The Speaker of the National Assembly did instruct me as the clerk to look for a way of either harmonizing or drafting a separate piece of proposal that will speak to public participation, not just by Parliament, but also by the other organs in the national government.
This represents an important milestone in the legislative and democratic process. My office now assumes the responsibility of attending to the draft, the spruced version of which will in due course be returned for further vetting by the House. The rationale of the bill lies in the constitutional imperatives of inclusive, participatory, transparent, and accountable governance. We are called upon to further refine the draft with these principles in mind and taking into account all stakeholders' engagement and interests.
Residents of Juja, Kiambu County, barricaded Thika Superhighway for nearly 2 hours to protest the killing of a 5-year-old boy by a hyena. The boy, identified as Njoroge Gitau, is said to have followed other children who had been sent to the shop last evening when the incident happened. The other children managed to escape.
The death of the 5-year-old Njoroge Gitau has caused outrage among residents of Nyakaba village in Juja, Kiambu County. Early today, hundreds of residents of Juja, led by those from Nyakaba village, poured into Thika Superhighway, paralyzing traffic for hours to protest the killing of young Njoroge by hyenas.
Tutavumilia kuzika watoto wetu pieces, hata si mwili pieces hadi lini? Wakuje watusaidia watoto wetu, na sisi wenyewe mama wamekuliwa, baba wamekuliwa. Sasa tumesema leo tumechoka.
Ninaumia na ninahusunika na ninaungana na wale wote wanatetea hii maneno, kuambia vyombo vya ulinzi hatujaridhishwa na kazi yao.
The boy, according to residents, followed his peers to the shops last evening when the incident happened, with the other children managing to flee unhurt.
Ilichukua mtoto kwa mkono ya brother yake, katoto kadogo akinunua kwa duka, ikamchomoa kwa mkono na ikamkula.
Early last month, a woman was mauled to death by a hyena in Juja South Estate. The Kenya Wildlife Service has confirmed the incident and is actively investigating. Members of the public have been urged to remain vigilant.
I want to request members of the public to give us time, not to take the law into their own hands. They have been hurt, and we are going to take every possible measure to ensure that this problem is sorted out.
KWS has established a 24/7 hotline number, which is 0800597000, for the public to report any wildlife concerns for immediate intervention. Pauline Nasimiu for Prime Edition.
Junior police officers entering service will now earn 25,645 shillings from 21,645 shillings in a new salary structure announced by the National Police Service Commission. In the adjusted salaries, the chairperson of Commission, Eliud Kinuthi, said Senior Assistant Inspector General at entry rank will earn 221,915 shillings, up from 200,889 shillings. The Commission has also assured police officers deployed to the troubled Caribbean nation of Haiti of its commitment to improving their working conditions.
The National Police Service Commission has announced the adjusted salary of police officers, with junior officers now entering service set to earn 25,645 shillings, up from 21,645 shillings. Those who have been at the service for more than 20 years will earn between 50,145 shillings to 69,640 shillings per month.
The Commission has reviewed and increased the salary of police constable from a basic salary per month at entry. At entry, we mean a fresh constable who have just left college.
Senior Assistant Inspector General at entry rank is expected to earn a monthly basic salary of 221,915 shillings, up from 200,889 shillings, equivalent to a pay rise amounting to 21,026 shillings. The longest-serving Senior Assistant Inspector General will now take home between 310,725 shillings and 409,365 shillings a month. In line with the Maraga-led task force recommendations, the Commission has announced the promotion of police constables aged between 53 to 59 years with clean discipline records and who have stagnated in the rank for more than 30 years. Under this, the Commission has approved the promotion on merit of 1,957 police officers, comprising 87 female and 1,870 male, as part of boosting morale in the force. Also promoted are 31 chief inspectors, 88 inspectors, 24 senior sergeants, among other ranks. The Commission urged the acting IG to temporarily halt promotions on merit to enable settling down of those already promoted.
This will enable settling down of those promoted. It will facilitate him in stabilization of command in the various service formations and units of NPS.
Cynthia also assured officers deployed to Haiti of the commitments to look into their welfare.
All the officers serving in Haiti mission specifically have also been paid up to date for the lot that went, the first lot, and the lot that went the second lot.
John Kahiro, Prime Edition.
The High Court has declined to vary its orders and directed the Acting Inspector General of Police, Gilbert Masengeli, to present himself to court on Monday, 9 September, or face the consequences of snubbing court summons. Justice Lawrence Mugambi wants Masengeli to appear in court and explain the whereabouts of two brothers and an activist who were allegedly abducted by police 2 weeks ago in Kitengela. Details in the Skills of Justice segment. Well, that story will be coming up shortly. Moving on now, more than 4,000 learners with special needs are set to benefit from the newly established education funding model. The Basic Education Principal Secretary, Dr. Belio Kipsang, has also reaffirmed the government's commitment to enhancing funding for special needs education to achieve inclusive education at all levels.
Speaking at the official opening ceremony of the Kenya Institute of Special Education, KBC Expo 2024, Dr. Kipsang reaffirmed the government's quest to reduce the cost of assistive devices for special needs learners.
The cost of assistive devices that our children are using needs to go down. And one of the ways of making sure that it goes down is having our own factory, having our own assembly line. And the government has already set aside 500 million to start by that particular project.
The PS further confirmed that KBC will soon be able to receive direct funding for the acquisition of special learning devices.
Instead of sending certain small amounts of monies to every other school, is that we shall send a certain component of that resource to the school, and we shall send a certain component of that resource to KBC so that they consolidate and be able to acquire the devices in large numbers, and that way we shall benefit from our economies.
The two-day 2024 KBC Expo, themed specialized learning materials, assistive devices and technology, has drawn participants from manufacturers, innovators, distributors, researchers, education practitioners, development partners, private sector and non-governmental organizations.
We will also discuss how effective policies and innovations in AI and IoT can enhance support for individuals with disabilities.
The Commission has sent party tutors to this institution, and we will continue to support you, because it's only through that we will have to ensure that together we support.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Education is reassuring the country that preparations for this year's national exam, set to begin next month, have begun in earnest. Joseph Ohungu for Prime Edition.
10 animal feed manufacturers and farmers are receiving training on animal feed ration formulation in Nairobi. The 5-day training that began on Monday at Kenya Industrial Research and Development Institute also seeks to equip the participants with skills in processing feedstuff, animal feed standards, feed additives, and cereal grains milling and processing, among other subjects. The training, sponsored by Kenya Industrial Research and Development Institute in collaboration with Hand in Hand Eastern Africa, brings together farmers and animal feeds manufacturers from 4 counties of Machakos, Nyandarua, Kiambu, and Tharaka Nithi.
When you are a feeds mixer, ni kusema ya kwamba wewe tu ni kuchanganya chochote ambacho unafikiria utampatia ng'ombe. Lakini sasa ukiwa a formulator, you know exactly what you're supposed to feed your cow.
We've learned on how to formulate feeds. We've learned on how to calculate the percentages for protein, energy, and other ingredients that are required by the animals. So from here, we are going to implement that into formulations for our animals.
What we do is we make sure that we impart knowledge and skills to the enterprises to be able to select the right nutrients which are needed for different classes of animals. They are also able to follow the KBC standards in the formulation which they are taking, and we also make sure that this particular training is able to account for least cost formulation. So
Over 861,000 Kenyans had officially registered with the Social Health Authority as of September 3rd, 2024, and nearly 10,000 health facilities have been licensed. Government spokesperson Dr. Isaac Maura says draft contracts with healthcare providers have been finalized, and the government is now focusing on public education about the transition from the National Insurance Fund, that's NHIF, to the Social Health Authority, SHA. Salaries employees will contribute 2.75% of their gross salary through their employers, while non-salaried employees will contribute the same percentage based on means testing. All civil servants are expected to be registered by October 1st, 2024.
And we are very happy to report as government that 861,101 Kenyans have already registered as of 3rd of September. And 9,729 health facilities have already been licensed and registered with KMPDC. And that includes 2,000 public facilities and 7,784 private and faith-based facilities. We are ready to go, in short. What we are waiting for is for a 1st of October deadline, and then we roll out.
Well, it's now time for our first break, and when we come back, I will be telling you more about rabbit farming in large scale. That and more coming up shortly.
Is a desire, not only by the Parliament, by the Executive, to fight promptly on corruption. And I don't think anybody, by the way, can fault that particular strategy. I mean, the country needs to be run in a very transparent way. Resources need to be managed in a very transparent way. And that's the only way the country can grow.
Siamini. Amini usiamini, Holiday Bonanza ni ya kila mtu na zawadi zitakufikia mahali popote. Dial *570#, chagua option 4 na zawadi kibao zinakungoja. Ikiwa kila wiki kuna 250,000 Kenyan shillings za kushindaniwa. Ni *570# pekee, option 4, tushinde.
Ever crazy. Undoubtedly entertaining and mind-boggling. The savage netizens capturing that unique moment.
Welcome back. We're so glad that you're still here with us. Now, World Physiotherapy Day was marked amid calls for the Ministry of Health to equip hospitals with necessary facilities that will help in the treatment of low back pain. Head of Physiotherapy in Kenyatta National Hospital, Kennedy Mogire, has called on the county government to collaborate with the national government in ensuring that physiotherapists across the country perform their role without any challenge due to the lack of proper facilities. He said physiotherapy physiotherapists have a major role to play in helping patients affected by low back pain and arthritis, particularly in managing and preventing the condition. The theme of this year's celebration is Management of Low Back Pain. The day marks the unity and solidarity of the global physiotherapy community and is an opportunity to recognize the work physiotherapists do for their patients and community. The main celebration will be happening on 8 September this year, with participants engaging in a walk from Amref International University to Nyayo Stadium to create awareness and sensitize Kenyans on managing low back pain.
Low back pain is one of the causes of loss of man hours. Back pain makes people not even to attend to their workplace, or sometimes miss from work, and at the end of the day is very costly in terms of treatment, and if not well handled also can lead to other complications. So we want to tell the general population that wherever you are, your physiotherapist, you can get in touch with a physiotherapist or ask the doctor if the physiotherapist can be able in the situations where there might not be a physiotherapist around, even the doctor can refer you to appropriate physiotherapy center or facility.
Well, to a story that we had earlier, the High Court has declined to vary its orders and directed the Acting Inspector General of Police, Gilbert Masengeli, to present himself in court Monday, 9 September, or face the consequences of snubbing court summons. Justice Lawrence Mugambi wants Masengeli to appear in court and explain the whereabouts of two brothers and an activist who were allegedly abducted by police 2 weeks ago in Kitengela. Details in the Skills of Justice segment.
For the 5th time, the police boss kept court summons. Masengeli had been ordered to appear Thursday after he cited he was out of town for official duties.
My Lord, the security of this country and of course everyone here is paramount. But we're also cognizant that there is a not valid order of the court which the Acting Inspector General is very much willing to comply with.
The trend replicated Thursday after the court was informed by a representative of the Attorney General that he was conducting a series of meetings at the coast and the northern counties.
Why has it been so difficult that you say that he has two deputy inspectors of police? Why is it that none of them has even ever bothered to come to court?
It not be like that. The law is there to protect the people.
This is as drama ensued as activist Julius Kamau demonstrated in court after the acting IG failed to appear in court.
I think you have been treating the matter casually, because from the 23rd it was served on the same day.
Elsewhere, petitioner Joel Kamau Kibe, who sued the management of Old Mucho PLC for systematically excluding minority shareholders in the management and decision-making process, now wants Capital Markets Authority to take stern action against the company. Through his counsel, Geshoke Kengara, Kife wants to be furnished with copies of the company's transactions, a thorough investigation of Old Mucho PLC, stoppage of further dilution of shares without proper consultation and approval, among others. 2 weeks ago, Judge Wayua Mongare issued orders stopping Old Mucho PLC from selling assets of the company and directed a pre-trial conference to be held on the 30th of this month. Ruth Wamboi for Prime Edition.
Welcome back. It's now time for business. The widespread power outage experienced on Friday last week was caused by a malfunction of equipment at the Suswa Power Substation. Energy Cabinet Secretary Opio Wandai says the government is implementing various measures to prevent recurrence of such incidents. The measures include investment of 18 billion shillings in upgrading high voltage electricity transmission infrastructure and another 42 billion shillings in the last mile connectivity project. Wandai says tightening controls on power distribution and increased surveillance of the national grid are being implemented to reduce cases of illegal power connections and pass on the savings to consumers through lower tariffs.
True that I've been vocal on power blackouts, just like every other Kenyan. And I'm not here to tell you that now blackouts will be a thing of the past. No. What I am here to tell you is that we have put in place measures and systems that would first and foremost mitigate against the blackouts. But if they happen, that there would be a system to respond swiftly to the blackouts and restore power in the shortest time possible.
In Ketraco, that is on transmission, we have about 18 billion that we are rolling out, and that is beside the maintenance or O&M that is done by KPLC. Yeah. So overall, we have in excess of about 64 billion shillings that we are working with, that is on infrastructure development.
We have adequate supply of meters at the moment. Yes, even for transformers, we are almost there. We may just be missing a few, but we are up to speed in terms of getting all these materials to actually address these issues. Whereas it could be an excuse in the past, it's no longer the case. We now have the materials and we can do those connections and undertake the works that are necessary within the shortest time possible.
97771.
There is a need for Africa to accelerate the establishment of its own financial institutions to address the existing challenges of the current global financial architecture. President Ruto, while making his closing remarks at the Forum of China-Africa Cooperation in Beijing, China, noted that the current formula does not favor Africa's transformation and development needs.
President William Ruto is calling on China to scale up its cooperation with Africa by helping countries on the continent access concessional funding for development. The president asked China to rally various stakeholders to double their contributions to multilateral development banks, such as the International Development Association of the World Bank, that offers developing countries low-interest concessional financing.
To urgently collaborate in championing a fair international financial system that enables Africa and other countries in the global south to benefit from available resources and opportunities. China, as a friend of Africa, should rally the rest of their shareholders to double their contributions to the multilateral development facilities like IDA 21, Africa Development Bank's replenishment program, as well as IMF's special drawing rights, to enable more African countries access concessional funding to support economies that are heavily affected.
The president asked China to support Africa's call for reforms on the international financial system that was unjust to many countries in the global south, including Africa.
The second critical area requiring China's close collaboration is to work with Africa on debt treatment generally, and in particular, reprofiling of debt to incorporate a longer grace period and longer tenure for both existing and future financial facilities to provide fiscal space for uptake of urgent development financing in social, in matters infrastructure, and other sectors critical for stabilizing Africa's economies.
While calling for reform on the international credit rating and debt sustainability systems, President Ruto said African leaders will next month hold the first ever meeting in Congo-Brazzaville to establish parameters for the proper assessment of the continent's assets and gross domestic product and new modalities for determining debt sustainability using Africa's real wealth.
The wide-ranging statement and the 10-point partnership action plan that encompasses China's support for Africa to access concessional resources and credit facilities, and for opening up China's market to those of us in the African continent.
Chinese President Xi Jinping announced a 10-point partnership action plan for Africa over the next 3 years that involves modernization of industrialization, agriculture, trade, investment, training and infrastructure, access of Africa's goods to the Chinese market, 30 infrastructure connectivity projects, and development cooperation comprising 1,000 livelihood projects. Nduta Mokami for Prime Edition.
Thank you, Nduta, for that comprehensive report. Now, an audit will be carried out on Kenya Tea Development Agency subsidiaries with the view of shutting loss-making entities. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says loss-making KTDA subsidiaries are driving up the production cost, which is affecting the revenue for farmers.
The volume of unsold tea at the Mombasa auction have reduced to 30 million kilos from a high of 100 million kilos last month. Those in the tea value chain blame the unsold tea on the high minimum price of Kenya tea and the low quality produce presented at the auction. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says there is need for Kenya Tea Development Agency to reduce its expenses by closing loss-making subsidiaries.
TDA subsidiaries are also avenues of wastage. Investment in loss-making businesses with the returns to the farmers. KTDA kazi yake ni majani chai. Sasa hii kazi ya real estate mulifundishwa na nani?
He says the government is setting up a multi-agency team to audit all KTDA subsidiaries to inform the decision on shutting the loss-making entities.
We're having a meeting with the new minister and the board so that all loss-making subsidiaries are shut down, because that loss is absorbed by who? By the farmer.
Tea is one of the value chains which we want to promote, and we have given priority.
Elsewhere, the Deputy President presided over the official opening of the Mombasa ASK show, where he warned macadamia processors that the government will not ban direct sale of unprocessed nuts until a fair price is reached between farmers and the millers.
Tunauliza wale processors and manufacturers tuketi, tukubaliane. Mkiwa mtalipa wakulima vizuri, vile wamekuwa wakilipwa wakipeleka macadamia nuts yao in raw form, sisi kama serikali hatuna shida yeyote. Lakini kama itarudi vile mlikuwa mnawalipa, I am sorry, that is something that is not agreeable to the government.
Macadamia processors have been pushing for a ban on raw macadamia exports, claiming they have been deprived key raw materials for their factories. Benson Rioba reporting for Prime Edition.
39 enterprises have undergone a one-year training to empower them on how to package their products for the local as well as the European market. Here is Ronald Owili with the details.
For many small and medium-sized enterprises in Kenya, accessing to funding as well as markets are the key challenges impeding their growth. Through the 12-month training program, 29 SMEs underwent an accelerator program, while 10 tech startups incubated to empower the scale-up.
We are stuck to the idea that trade is better than aid, in the sense that we would like to see Kenyan production grow in quality and quantity, and also in price to get more revenue. And in this, of course, the Italian cooperation to development and IFR impact to work for a better future in the next year for young people here.
Through the E4 Impact Entrepreneurship Center, which is supported by a whopping 107.3 million shilling funding from the Italian Agency for Development Cooperation, some enterprises in agribusiness have embraced value addition and secured new markets among local retailers.
We also help them to have market linkages, either to sell their products in Kenya or even abroad. And right now, for the most part, actually those with products, if you go to Carrefour, you'll actually find a good number of the accelerated companies that we have having their products there.
E4 Impact Entrepreneurship Center expects the 2024 cohort to further secure international market and increase their turnover.
The idea to have education, to have access to market, and to have the opportunity to create partnership among Kenyan companies and Italian companies is really one of the strengths of our initiative.
Under the program, the 39 enterprises acquired specialized training on financial accounting, marketing, and investor pitches.
It's a hobby idea that started during the COVID-19 pandemic before it developed into a reliable income-generating side hustle. Tonight on The Young and Industrious, our focus is on Dr. Nicholas Kome, a 28-year-old medical doctor who has invested in giant rabbit breed farming. Ayan Muse with the details.
At Moroga village in Imenti Central, Meru County, we meet Michelle Mutea, a younger sister to Dr. Nicholas Kome. She is undertaking her normal daily duties of tending to the rabbits when her brother is away. In the process, Dr. Nicholas arrives after finishing his shift at Isiolo County Hospital. He notes how COVID-19 came with challenges from job loss to salary cuts, not forgetting the daily curfews that affected incomes. Amidst the COVID pandemic in 2020, Dr. Kome joined an internship program where a mentor motivated him on the need to delve into rabbit farming as a hobby.
They were explaining the benefits of rabbits, how they can bring income.
The farm business, dubbed Nick's Rabbitry, focuses on giant rabbit breeds with unique breed names such as New Zealand Whites and California Whites. He explains the history behind the names.
Both rabbit breeds were introduced in California, that's in the USA. They were mainly bred for meat. They were bred with the purpose of getting a fast-growing rabbit that produces good quality meat and has very good meat to bone ratio. So the origin of the New Zealand White is still debatable up to now, but it's thought to have come about through the breeding of Flemish giants. There was some Belgian hares.
We are taken through the process from when they are conceived up until they are ready for sale or consumption.
Rabbits are one of the fastest reproducing animals. They have a gestation of about 28 to 32 days. So the kindlings are born without eyes, without fur. They take roughly three weeks. By the time they are 3 weeks is when you start seeing fur on their bodies. By the 4th week now, the eyes are fully open, and then they start now moving about. So by around the 4th week is when you expect the kindlings to jump out of the nestling. So at around 4 weeks, we remove the nestling. We allow the mom, the doe to mother for around 2 more weeks. So we win at 6 weeks. Then after winning from at 6 weeks, we let the doe rest for another 2 weeks, and then rebreed at 2 months. So we start selling our kindlings mostly from 6 weeks, and the pricing now varies as the months go on, from 2 months to 3 months to 4 months.
While rabbit meat is the main product on demand in the market, the rabbit urine is also sold based on the quantity and farming season. So is the rest of rabbit waste, which is sold for use as manure.
The benefits of rabbit urine is it is very high in nitrogen, which comes in the form of urea. So for that reason, it is mostly used as a foliar feed, which you can apply directly at the root of the plant, or you can spray on the plants.
As the person mostly on the ground tending to the rabbits, Michelle notes a couple of challenges the project faces, from supply of rabbit pellets, transfer of the kidlings to their nestlings, and the mistake that amateur farmers make during feeding forgetting that rabbits are non-ruminant.
I used to go fetch sukuma wiki, cabbages, thinking I'm treating them. When I come and find that the rabbits they are dead.
After hesitating for a while, she opens up on her preference for New Zealand whites over California white breeds.
It's like the rabbit broiler. You know, by broiler, the chicken broiler, the way they grow fast.
Dr. Koome encourages the youth to venture into rabbit businesses while calling on the government to subsidize the price of feeds and provide more awareness to farmers.
If you look at the pricing of a 50 kg sack of rabbit pellets goes for around 2,700. I think the cheapest and economical is from, I think, Hakika Feeds, who will give you 70 kgs at 3,100. If you can, please get into the business. It is not labor intensive and the maintenance cost is quite low.
From New Zealand whites to California whites, for Dr. Nicholas, rabbit farming is no longer just a hobby, but a source of livelihood. Reporting for Young and Industrious, I'm Ian Muse.
Thank you, Ian Muse, for that inspiring story. Remember, Young and Industrious is on every Thursday. You can send us or recommend someone that you would like us to cover on this story. Well, Kenya is working on a green finance classification, which will serve as reference for corporates and align with the green economy. Environment and Climate Change Principal Secretary Dr. Festus Ngeno says the government wants to help the private sector, particularly finance institutions, to play a bigger role in driving the green economy.
The Central Bank of Kenya in 2021 issued climate-related risk management guidance on how commercial banks and mortgage finance companies should manage climate-related risks. Now, new policies are being introduced to net even more corporates into climate mitigation efforts.
Central Bank of Kenya, in collaboration with the European Investment Bank, is developing the Kenya Green Finance Taxonomy, which will serve as a reference for the Kenya's transition to a green economy. This guide, once finalized, will increase the consistency of the green finance flows and align green products and financial allocations with internationally recognized standards.
Despite slow adoption of environmental social governance practices, corporates are realigning to become attractive to clients seeking green services.
We see actions around preservation of the environment and making positive changes in the society as a business imperative.
One of the ways, and I think Abdi also mentioned, is the commercial side is the best way of delivering sustainability. So in the way we design our products, in the way we develop our products, and also in the way we run our operations.
Financial institutions like ABSA are ramping up investments in this space, having advanced 60 billion shillings in sustainable finance in 2023.
We have somewhere in the region of 22 billion in the climate finance area, financing green and renewable energy and similar products. We have 21 billion financing startups and young entrepreneurs.
ESG is voluntary for listed companies in Kenya, with 29 companies having adopted the practice so far. Alanako, Prime Edition.
Siamini. Amini usiamini, Holiday Bonanza ni ya kila mtu na zawadi zitakufikia mahali popote. Dial *570#, chagua option 4 na zawadi kibao zinakungoja. Ikiwa kila wiki kuna 250,000 Kenyan shillings za kushindaniwa. Ni *570# pekee, option 4, tushinde.
the second leading cause of cancer deaths among women in Kenya.
What cancer does is your normal cells grow and outgrow. They proliferate, grow really, really fast, you know. Imagine like when your tea is boiling and it just flames up.
Welcome back. Professionals in the construction industry should work closely with the Lands, Housing and Urban Development Ministry and relevant state agencies in addressing the issue of collapsing buildings. Lands, Housing and Urban Development Cabinet Secretary Alice Wahome has told the Board of Registration for Architects and Quantity Surveyors that for a building to collapse, there is compromise somewhere in the building industry that involves different stakeholders. She challenge Kenyans to only engage professionals.
It is for us to tell them what are the specifications. It's for us to say, without these particular materials, if we build a 10-floor, a 5-floor, or whatever building, it is definitely going to collapse. If they choose shortcuts, you are not chained there. You can resign from the job, because when interrogation comes, when the building collapses, the engineer, the supervisor, the managers, all of you are in problems.
Watamu is a tropical paradise that boasts of some of the most breathtaking beaches in the world. With its powdery white sands, crystal clear turquoise waters, and vibrant marine life, this coastal haven is an ideal destination for tropical holiday enthusiasts, as highlighted tonight on Magical Scenes.
As you walk along the shores of Watamu, the soft, warm sand gently cushions your feet, inviting you to explore the beauty that lies ahead.
Welcome all to Kenya. Si parlate, siamo su Rai 1.
The beaches here are adorned with swaying palm trees and fringed with coral reefs, creating a picturesque setting that feels straight out of a postcard. Watamu is not just a feast for the eyes, it is also a sanctuary for marine biodiversity. The Watamu Marine National Park, established in 1968, is a home to an array of colorful coral reefs, tropical fish and endangered sea turtles. Snorkeling and diving enthusiasts flock this area to experience the underwater wonders where vibrant coral gardens teem with life. The park's commitment to conservation ensures that this marine paradise remains protected for future generations to enjoy. Beyond its natural beauty, Watamu is steeped in rich cultural heritage. The local community, primarily comprises the Mijikenda community, share their traditions and stories alike, offering a glimpse into the region's historical significance.
We also love the Mijikenda culture because they have very old traditions. Somebody of us, like the Mzee Franco Esposito, the politician, he liked to have a name, Kasoso Mbaya. And I want to tell that even my name is Mbogo wa Kimera, Mumilulu, Amelulu Amwambogo, and the Giriama, they know what does it means.
The map is beautiful, it's fantastic all over the year. In Europe, 6 months and 6 months. So that is the advantage. And the advantage is also that being under the equator, when there is very cold, here is summertime.
As the popularity of Watamu grows, so does the emphasis on sustainable tourism. Local initiatives aim to preserve the environment while promoting responsible travel. Visitors are encouraged to participate in beach cleanups and support eco-friendly accommodations that prioritize sustainability. Watamu's beaches are more than just a destination. They are a celebration of nature's beauty, cultural richness, and adventure. Whether you are lounging on the beach, exploring the vibrant marine life, or immersing yourself in the local culture, Watamu offers an unforgettable experience that lingers long after the sun sets over the horizon. Chuma Udin, magical scenes in the county of Kilifi.
Competition among businesses ensures that consumers have a wide variety to choose from at friendly prices. The Commerce Competition Commission is working to ensure fair trade in the region. Betty Kiptum was in Livingstone, Zambia, and had a sit-down with the Commerce Commission Chief Executive, Dr. Willard Mwemba, on how restrictive trade practices are contributing to the rise in cost. Need to protect consumers from harmful practices in the digital space. Take a look.
Hello and thank you for watching KBC Channel 1. We'd like to have an interactive session, and we are coming to you from Livingstone in Zambia, where we are discussing matters of consumer protection. My name is Betty Kiptum, and joining me on this conversation is Dr. Willard Mwemba. He is the Chief Executive Officer at the Commerce Competition Commission. Thank you very much for joining us. Maybe we could just start with an understanding of what consumer protection is and why it is important.
We are all consumers, including yourself. And whatever we do, especially in this modern world, involves consumption. Whatever we do. Even what I'm doing with you here, Betty, you are consuming some information from me. So we cannot escape from consumption, and wherever there is interactions with humans to obtain or consume something from them, there is also risk that in that process of consumption, somebody's welfare, somebody's interests may be injured. And that is why consumer welfare and consumer law enforcement is important. It is to ensure that in our quest to consume various goods and services, we consume them in a manner that does not expose us to injury, not physical injury, but injury in terms of our welfare. So if I'm trying to consume a product, it should be given to me in a manner that is expected. It should be given to me in the condition that is expected. It should be given to me at the price that is expected. And usually these sometimes become a problem because you will not get it at the right price sometimes. You will not get it in the manner that is expected sometimes. You will not get it in the condition that is expected.
Consumer protection in other developed markets is very robust, and for Africa, the matters of competition as well as consumer protection are a bit new.
That's correct.
How can we ensure that we are getting there, and what are competition authorities such as yourself and even local authorities doing to make sure that we are getting to that level or even close?
In fact, you started very well. We should be getting to that level, not dreaming of getting close to that level. So we should be getting to that level, Betty. And yourselves, the media, should be in the forefront of helping us to get to that level. But before I come to yourselves and remove ourselves as regulators and put more responsibility on yourselves, I'll start with the regulators. I think us as regulators should be more robust about the enforcement of consumer laws. Us as regulators, we should appreciate the reasons why we were established and put in those offices. I've always said this, maybe even to you, Betty, because I'm very passionate and emotional about this, that most of us sit in those offices without appreciating really why we're in those offices. Okay? And why I say without appreciating is it's business as usual, laissez-faire attitude to the approach. When you hear of a consumer case, does it move you to make sure you resolve that case? Or it is the usual thing, well, it has happened, it has happened. That is the beginning of the problem, and that's what I've seen in a number of countries, in a number of different institutions. So us as consumer authorities, I think we should be held accountable on whether we are performing the mandate for which we were created. So, for example, if there are serious consumer violations happening in COMESA, and the COMESA Competition Commission has never said a word, their people, their citizens, their journalists should be able to speak against our inertia, against our inactivity, to put us on our toes so that we act. This is what happens in the West. Put them on their activities so that they act. Our people should become aware of their rights and obligations as well. Their rights under the law, so that when those rights are not safeguarded by the Commission, we should be able to be compelled to do that, even legally. I don't want to become too legalistic, but there's what is called an order of mandamus that most people do not know about. So an order of mandamus is where a public institution will be compelled by the courts because someone has taken the matter to court. Can you act on this? This is your mandate. I've rarely seen those things in our countries. It happens so much in the advanced jurisdictions, as you said, where citizens simply rise, take the matter to court, and compel a public body to act. In your country, Kenya, I try to follow things there. There's some good levels of aggression there, but it's one of just few countries. We need so many to do that.
Agriculture is the mainstay of most African economies, and a lot of people on the planet depend on agriculture. Farmers, on the other hand, are getting poorer by the day, and prices of food are just going higher and skyrocketing. Where is the disconnect, and is there a competition issue here?
Serious competition issue exacerbated by certain policies. And before I even address your question, Betty, do you know that Africa has some of the most arable land in the world? Okay, the entire planet. Africa is the most arable land, but Africa is the poorest when it comes to food produce. And can you imagine, with the most arable land, in fact, we import a lot of food than we export. I think that is not right. So why should it be like that? We are endowed with God blessed us with lots of natural resources, good land, but we cannot utilize that. We actually end up importing more food than we can produce. So your question is right and comes at the right time. Then what is the problem? The problem are big companies in the agri value chain, which are multinationals. Okay? So they know very well that with this arable land that we have, if right conditions are put in place, and we are able to produce and export and feed our people, then their own existence is threatened. So they would rather engage in conduct that will make it difficult for you to grow that food, or difficult for you, while you've grown that food, difficult for you to get the right price for that food, or even when you've grown that food, difficult for you to make sure that it is stored properly and exported. They will make it very difficult that even when you have got all these resources and good land, it becomes useless, because they are pulling the strings, controlling how the market or agri value chain should look. Because if they don't do that, then it threatens their own existence. That is where the problem is. So we have quite a lot of anti-competitive concerns in the agri market, perpetuated by multinational corporations to make sure or to ensure their self-preservation. But again, the same multinationals, outside clear anti-competitive behavior, they also end up using what is called lobbying. And they will go to our governments, present a real situation, and the government will say, well, this is a good situation to address this, we'll put in these policies. So, for example, I'll give you an example. They will lobby the government to put in import restrictions. Why? Because if they are a multinational operating in a certain jurisdiction, those imports may threaten their own prices. Because once imports begin to come in, the imports come in. So they lobby the governments to put in those import restrictions, okay? And they'll be telling the government, look, it is collapsing the price for the farmer. That's what they'll say. But when the import restrictions are put in place, have we seen the price for the farmer go up? No. Because in fact, the farmer is not dealing with the importers and what. The farmer is dealing with these same guys. So for them, they'll still continue buying from the farmer at the very same price, and the import restriction only benefits them. So that is another very big problem, in that they will present a real situation, go to our government will say, well, this is a problem, put in policies which ultimately benefits them. When there's so much food that even them, where they've gotten so much from the small-scale farmers at low price, their silos and their storage facilities are full. They'll go to the government and say, well, there's quite a lot of our produce in the market, and what is happening because of this produce, there is so much, and the price for the farmer will be suppressed. Same reason. So let's export. Again, they are the same ones who will benefit from that, because they are the only ones who export. So while you are thinking you are addressing the poverty situation, you are actually waging it more and more and more, because the good policies that you are actually putting in place are benefiting those who are already privileged and keep on suppressing those who are already underprivileged. Those are the basic conditions that are frustrating and making agric and food markets not to work well against us as consumers who buy that food, but against the farmer who is producing that food.
Right. So given that situation, what are competition authorities doing to stop this?
In terms of the private actors, these ones that I've talked about, the multinational corporations, we have begun investigations against some of them, both at regional level but also at national level. I know the Competition Authority of Kenya, for example, is doing a lot of work as a result of some studies. So what are we doing about it? As a result of some studies that the COMESA Competition Commission did to expose some of the concerns in the agric and food value chains, some competition authorities have picked up that and started their own investigations or their own studies. Kenya is one very good example, Competition Authority of Kenya, who were part of the same study that the CCC did. They've localized it also back home and began to expose some of these businesses. Some of them were engaged in cartels. Cartels to exacerbate the situation. Because of this, the Kenyan Competition Authority has ended up exposing them and fining them heavily. That is one thing we are doing about investigation, but also research and police recommendations where we can't investigate against the government. Because the government, to be fair on them, Betty, whatever policies they come up with, there is no leader who will be stupid to want to come up with policies that injure his or her own people. So all those policies we see, they have good intentions. Because every leader wants his or her people to be happy, and to be happy with his leadership. But why is it that some of the policies end up not working for the people? It's the same situations. The government policy that is well intended is manipulated when it comes to operation on the market. So it fails to work. But what can we do against the government as competition authorities? Because we are created by governments. We are the creature of government, so we can't enforce against them. But what we can do is to come up with policy recommendations and show them clearly in black and white, this that you are doing is having these negative consequences. It is benefiting people who are not intended beneficiaries. We think you can do A, B, C, D. Sometimes it takes long because, remember, competition law and policy is just one aspect of so many, or an array of government policies. So you have to be very convincing, Betty, to tell them that these policies should listen to the competition policy to work properly. It's a tall order, but it happens, and you have to be very strategic about it. And that's why we are bringing the diplomats here. From the diplomats, the other thing that we are doing is to send the actual report. We have, I don't know if you picked those books already, actual reports to our ministries of agriculture, our ministries of trade, so that they see the issues that are coming there. When the ambassador goes to his, because the ambassador's intention is that they'll go to their government, goes to their government to say, this is what we have heard and we appreciate it, we've understood, these are the concerns. The government will say, oh, in fact, we've received also a report from those guys. What you are saying may be true. We begin to change the scenario, we begin to change the system. It's difficult, it's a tall order, but it's better to do something than just sitting.
There are a number of legal changes that the COMESA Competition Commission is undertaking currently. And one of those particular changes includes a focus on the digital market. Kenya, as well as many other African countries, have a very robust digital ecosystem. So how are these legal changes going to affect how consumers consume digital products?
It's very interesting. I'll start from the very consumer perspective. Betty, and as you said, for example, mobile banking in Kenya is very robust. And I think it's one of the examples in Africa, but even beyond, by the way, the Europeans are using that model now of M-Pesa and what, you know that, right? Yeah. And we are happy about that because it came from an African project. Yeah, so Kenya has done very well there. But what that has entailed is that even old people, my grandmothers, and even those people, without any disrespect, who never went to school, for various reasons, obviously, maybe they were not privileged, have ended up having to understand how to use that cell phone. That cell phone is in the digital space because some of the things that you are doing, they are press this, press that, press this. That is a digital economy working. But from that, there have also been all these sorts of scams. You put in this, what do they call it, the USSD, do this, do that, somebody's money is siphoned. Or even the players themselves, they'll put so many conditions there that you and I, even you and I who are educated and who are exposed, may not have time because who reads all those small conditions? You just sign and you don't know what you've signed for. You start seeing certain deductions from your... All those are digital platforms, by the way. And we want to make sure that companies will not be taking advantage, number one, of less privileged and unaware consumers. But number two, even us who are educated and a bit more privileged, they've made it in such a situation that the contracts that you end up saying, I agree. You remember, you see there's that thing, agree to the terms. And do you read those things, Kipkun?
No, I don't.
You know me, I don't. Huh?
I don't.
Yeah, so I may be a person with a legal background who is expected to read all those things, but I don't. Where will I get time to read that long thing in that fine print? So just say, agreed. Okay, but you don't know what you've agreed to. We want to make sure that if there's anything in that which you know people will not read and they'll just agree, you will not say, no, they agreed, because we know your strategy. These are the things that we are doing. When it comes to competition outside consumer, it's also the same issue that we have found that from a competition point of view, companies have claimed that we are small. Remember, competition laws sometimes do not significantly apply to small companies. The reason is that they don't want to apply. No, the reason is that the effect on the market and against consumers is almost insignificant. It's negligible. We call it de minimis in law. It has no consequence. But the same behavior by someone else who is big, it has terrible consequences on everyone. But we use parameters to say we'll act on this one. And one of the parameters is how much money are they making? What is the turnover? They say, no, they are big. If they are making more than this money, then they are big. Their behavior will affect everyone. But in the digital space now, the issue there is not about making money per se from turnover. The issue is how do you manipulate the data that you have for the consumer? How do we perpetually make betting? How do we make betting perpetually connected to this company? Because they have all had that. Have you, and I don't want to mention companies, I want to be very careful, but have you noticed that the moment you buy a phone like mine, which is an Android, it automatically connects to all the other Android gadgets that I had. By the way, it has connected to my old phone, it has connected to my tablet, everything, and all my data is there. At the end of the day, what ends up happening is that the importance of those transactions and conduct is not so much about turnover, but what it is that they are looking from you. Their data, your data. You know how those maps, the Google Maps, how they work? Yeah, it's this data that these people have. Have you wondered when you're on the net, you search something, the next coming months, they'll always be bringing you something that is related to that. AI, all that is digital and digital content and digital platforms and digital economy. And that is what is important to them. So you may end up saying, oh, they are not making any money in Africa. But you may be wrong. So that law that is coming will be able to discern and look through that to say, it's not just the turnover. What other aspects may be harmful to consumers and markets as a result of this measure, looking beyond just how much money they are making. So those are some of the issues that are coming, and we hope when the implementation begins, they will contribute to the welfare of society.
So as we come to a close of this conversation, what is the way forward for consumers in Africa? What should they be looking forward to?
Forward for consumers in Africa, Betty, I would reiterate, competition and consumer authorities, please up your games wherever you are at national level. We are there to make sure that consumer welfare is safeguarded. But consumers also do not be so casual about the issues that affect you. I've seen consumers, including myself, by the way, where I've bought something that is terrible and it breaks the moment I get home, and I just say, it's okay. I don't have the energy to start arguing with these people. No, let us be more involved, even no matter how small it is, because if we start making a lot of noise, businesses will realize that people cannot be taken for granted. Competition authorities, consumer authorities, be robust about your work. Consumers, be active, complain. It doesn't matter. It's even better to be called a complaining consumer. It's okay as long as your welfare is safeguarded. Media, please, Betty, work with us. Expose our work where we've done well so that people can have confidence in the system to come and complain, because they know if we complain, the matter will be resolved. Sometimes they don't come because they say, those people don't do anything. I've complained and complained. So when we do good, expose our good works. But when we also don't do good, expose and embarrass us. Because next time we say, oh, Betty, she will write something if we are not doing we are on our toes. So that is the way forward that I see for the benefit of all of us. Where there is a good consumerism, Betty, where consumers are satisfied, consumers are the drivers of the economy. Do you know how economies collapse? Even those things you call global meltdown of 2008, it's because consumer confidence in the market has collapsed. They stop spending, the economy stops running. So we need to make sure that consumer confidence is in the market by being involved, all of us.
Thank you very much for speaking with us, and thank you for sharing your insights.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Asante for your time.
Karibu.
Have been speaking with Dr. Willard Mwemba, who is the Chief Executive Officer at the COMESA Competition Commission. And we have been talking about matters consumer protection, why it is important. And he says that all consumers need to be protected from unfair trade practices. And of course, businesses need to offer competition and choice for consumers. Well, that's it for this particular conversation. My name is Betty Kiptum. Thank you very much for watching.
A lobby group under the umbrella of Bunge la Wananchi is demanding for compensation of victims affected by the recent Young Kenyans protests. The group, which is also demanding the release of abductees, wants the police to be held accountable for the brutality meted on peaceful protesters. This and other stories in the County News Roundup.
People united shall never be defeated.
At the Jivanji Gardens in Nairobi, members drawn from Bunge la Wananchi, a human rights activist organization, gathered to pay tribute to the victims of anti-government protest. Led by Bunge la Wananchi President Francis Awino, the group says that they will not back down until justice is achieved for the affected victims.
Tumekataa kuinherit zile mashida zenye tunaweza solve saa hii. Kabla waende zile mashida zenye tunaweza solve saa hii lazima tungangane nazo to make sure tumezisolve.
This while noting that they have already presented a case to the East Africa Court for crimes committed against humanity.
Bunge la Mwananchi must stand to be counted after decades of struggle for social justice. Bunge la Mwananchi must stand to be counted as a defender of the people.
Elsewhere, Meru County health workers strike entered its 36th day today, with the striking medics vowing to continue with the industrial action until their demands are met.
Saizi lugha yenye tumebadilisha na lugha yenye tunaongea ni lugha ya barua kwa mfanyikazi.
In Siaya County, residents from Mahanya and Urimi villages in Rarieda sub-county teamed up and opened up the forgotten Missouri-Kitimbo Road, a crucial link to help them in their trading business.
We have been neglected by the government, and we are the people. Every time we pay tax, we vote, and nothing is forthcoming.
Meanwhile, residents from Shinyalu and Malava in Kakamega County took to the streets, protesting over poor state of the roads that has become problematic as they carry out their day-to-day activities.
Ni majukumu ya Mheshimiwa Malulu ahakikishe kwamba hii barabara unganishe watu wa Malava kutoka Kambi Junction kwenda Shinyalu.
Similar incident was also witnessed in minor slum in the outskirts of Nyahururu town, where residents blamed the local leaders for failing to fulfill promises of improving the road network within the slum.
Tuko na huzuni sana na uchungu mwingi sana kuangalia kuona barabara zetu ziko katika hali ambayo haiwezi tumika.
Engagements that will ensure that
And members of Fourth Estate have been challenged to shift to solution journalism rather than focus on the problems alone.
Solution journalism is a style of journalism that attempts to not only report a crisis, but also try and establish a solution to the same problem.
Opicho Chemtai for Prime Edition.
Siamini. Amini usiamini, holiday bonanza ni ya kila mtu na zawadi zitakufikia mahali popote. Dial *570#, chagua option 4 na zawadi kibao zinakungoja. Ikiwa kila wiki kuna 250,000 Kenyan shillings za kushindaniwa. Ni *570# pekee, option 4, tushinde.
Harambee Stars will kick off their 2025 AFCON qualifiers campaign with a match against Zimbabwe on Friday 6th at the Nelson Mandela Stadium in Kampala, Uganda at 4 p.m. The Engine Firat Chargers then face Namibia on Tuesday 10th September at the Orlando Stadium in Johannesburg, South Africa at 7 p.m. Catch the matches live on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Well, Kenya will be playing Zimbabwe tomorrow, and Bernardo Kumu has all the details for you. It's now time for sports.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. And it is indeed time for sports with me, Bernardo Kumu. Let's begin with the good news from Paris Paralympics, where lone Kenyan medalist at the 2024 Paris Paralympic Games, Samson Ojuka, has his eyes now set on the long jump world record after breaking the African record on his way to a silver medal in France. Ojuka arrived back home today morning from France.
Paris Paralympics silver medalist Samson Ojuka has promised to make an attempt at the world record after breaking the African record in Paris with a 6.20-meter jump, erasing the previous mark of 6.05 set in 2015 by South African Andre Ave.
I'm happy that at least we are starting to get the medals in these types of events, and we are looking forward to bringing more people on board. I would also like to break milestones.
On his arrival in Kenya today morning, Ojuka said he wants to break the world record and called for more support for field event para-athletes in Kenya to enhance the country's chances of performing better in future. Ojuka rescued Kenya's fortunes at the Paris Paralympic Games at Stade de France on Tuesday evening, earning the country the first medal, a silver in the long jump.
They should also look for younger talent which is coming up, and also invest in sports like the field events, such as the long jump, the discus, and the javelin, which can be a very good platform for young athletes to come in.
Brian Lionel from Argentina won gold in the event, with Brazilian Cado Evangelista taking the bronze. Ojuka, who was making his debut at the Games, had participated in 3 World Championships in 2019 Dubai, 2023 Paris, and 2024 Kobe, Japan, missing out on a medal on all 3 occasions.
Still on athletics, where the Kenya national team in the just concluded World Athletics Under-20 Championships arrived back home today morning from Lima, Peru. Kenya finished 5th overall with 7 medals, 3 gold, 3 silver and a bronze.
The Kenya Under-20 athletics team safely returned home today morning from Peru, where they won 7 medals. Sarah Mora, Andrew Kipto Alamisi and Edmund Serem, who all bagged gold medals during the 5-day championship, said they are now shifting focus to senior events, with their main target being the Tokyo 2025 World Athletics Championship.
I feel good kuwa captain for the first time, na pia mimi nimelead as an example, nimekuja na gold, niko na furaha. Na pia kitu naomba ni hii team yenye tumeenda wote Peru in Summer Olympics 2028. I pray tuingie wote ka team.
Kufikia next year hiyo itaka world champ, itaka nikiwa sawa, mwili kikaa sawa, itaka niingie hapo pia star. Haitaka mbaya.
Kwanza niko na furaha sana, ilikuwa ya World Athletics na nalijaribu kupigania nchi yangu.
Kenya won gold medals in the 800-meter women, 5,000-meter men and 3,000-meter steeplechase men. The silver medalists were Dennis Kipkoech in the 3,000 meters, Matthew Kosgei in the 3,000-meter steeplechase, and Marion Jepngetich in the 3,000 meters. Diana Chepkemoi was the sole bronze medalist in the team, having finished 3rd in the 3,000-meter steeplechase.
You know, we've been singing about this Norwegian called in Gebritsen. And I saw a new in Gebritsen who is your age. So atawasumbua sana kwa sababu you see he won. Na nyinyi ambao mko 1,500 meters au 5,000 and so on, you must go and beat him next time. But how do you do that? We have to work extra hard. And I think everybody has talked about this here.
And to soccer now, where the national soccer team Harambee Stars will face Zimbabwe tomorrow at 4 p.m. in Group J match of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier at Mandela Nambole National Stadium in Kampala, Uganda. Now, the team has been forced to host home matches in Uganda due to lack of FIFA-approved stadiums in the country. The team may miss the services of Al Duhail striker Michael Olunga, who has been nursing an injury. Harambee Stars will travel to South Africa on Tuesday to face Namibia in the second match of the qualification. Other teams in Group J include 5-time Africa champions Cameroon and Namibia. The team coached by Engin Firat is determined to qualify for the Africa Cup of Nations for the first time since the 2019 edition. Kenya did not participate in the qualifiers of the previous edition of the AFCON following a FIFA ban. And Kenya will play Singapore A tomorrow for a place in the finals of the Mixers Nations Cup 2024 netball tournament set to end on Saturday in Singapore. Kenya has so far suffered only one defeat against UAE when they lost 44-37 in a closely contested encounter. The Kenyan team had an easy time against Canada, thrashing them 79-14, and also managed to scrape to a 49-36 win over Singapore. Kenya produced another sterling performance against Ireland to win 64-31 and will now play Singapore A in their 5th match of the 7-day tournament. At the moment, Kenya sits second on the table behind UAE and needs to win their 5th match to book a place in Saturday's final.
Oh, there we go, Onyango, the rising star for Kenya. Otieno. Every second pass.
So that's your last story?
Making herself available. And they send it over the back. Great haul there. Nyapera with her first shot of the day. Wasn't sure who the ball was going to then.
The Cabinet Secretary for Sports, Kipchumba Murkomen, says that the Kenyan government will do more to combat gender-based violence, especially among sportsmen and women, following the sudden death of Ugandan marathon runner Rebecca Cheptegei, who died after being set on a blaze by former boyfriend. Now, the 33-year-old athlete, who finished 44th in the marathon at the Paris Olympic Games, died last night at the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital in Eldoret, where she had been admitted. Cheptegei died last night after all her organs failed, having sustained 80% burn. The said boyfriend Dixon Marangach also sustained burn injuries during the attack and is admitted at the ICU with 30% burns. CS Murkomen says the government remains committed in supporting justice for Rebecca Cheptegei. Well, and that does it for sports tonight. But just remember that tomorrow Kenya will be facing Zimbabwe. That's in their opening match of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier. The match kicks off at 4 p.m. and will be live from Nambole Stadium. That's in Kampala, Uganda. KBC Channel 1 will show the match live beginning at 4 p.m. That's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Bernardo. Come back to Cynthia to bring the contents down on today's edition of this particular broadcast.
Thank you, Bernard Okumu. From me and the rest of the team, who would like to wish you a very good night.
When it comes to disabilities, we should understand that disability is diverse, and none of the disabilities that we have in this world is better than the other.
Mtoto akilia kidogo sio kumnyamazisha na simu. Akililia simu ajiangushe chini. When we grew up, you cried for a sweet. Your mother would not buy.
Before you're empowered, first you should love yourself. Kwa sababu being person with a disability, it's not an easy task. Kwa sababu kuna stigma.
Our goal is to raise awareness, challenge misconceptions, and celebrate the resilience and contributions of persons with disabilities.
Jana iko huko.
Useme tu umekuja kuniona alafu unacheza chini.
Unajua Jackie yuko amechizi, ni venye tujuange akimeza dawa.
Really? Thank you, Jen. I hope I'm not interrupting anything here.
Nini umempatia?
What do you mean?
You know that man talks more about you than our relationship.
Oh, really?
Maki ana hata ubishi.
How comfortable are you here?
Mwanaume anapenda mtu mwenye anamsikiza, anamuelewa na anamuheshimu.
I am not stupid. Sawa. I know when I'm being shortchanged.
This is crazy.
You need to put your mood swings on check.
Hebu tukabunge kidogo.
Hello, hello. I am Alunbi, and you're here in Senegal, in the city of Dakar, my city, my hometown. Let me show you.
Dakar is situated on the North Atlantic Ocean. This city is an important seaport on the west coast of Africa.
Land of the melting pot, an arm in France and a leg in the Arab world. But the heart is here, right here in Africa.
Senegal became a republic in 1960 when it became independent from France. Since then, its democracy has been pretty peaceful and stable.
Dakar is a place with lots of